kept my head up, and they got me involved. That's it.
Welcome into the Big Time Hoops Starting 5 podcast presented by Town & Country Federal Credit Union. I'm Taylor Mannix. Thanks to everybody behind the scenes as well that gets this podcast up and running, especially on our Instagram page that's gaining some traction. Make sure you hit us there to follow us for scores and all sorts of updates, including our power rankings that we'll get into today. We got, though, the Big Time Town & Country Game of the Week to hit first. We have Division II updates, some really great stories from Division II on the men's side this week. And also we'll take a look at the YSCC and Maine teams climbing in the GNAC and CNE. First, though, let's start with a big-time Town and Country Game of the Week, which featured the UMaine Black Bears last week. We did feature the SMCC Seawolves. We'll get into them in a little bit. But with this one for the University of Maine Black Bears, they're playing maybe their best basketball of the season right now, and looking at the numbers, their 3-game win streak started in convincing fashion against UMass Lowell, then came a little revenge tour. They beat the University of Vermont 55-46 on a day game that featured school day children throughout the arena. Screaming kids is never an easy place and environment to play in. They most recently beat Bryant 64-56 over the weekend. And that Bryant win was, it was all about Adrianna Smith, who continues to impress. I've said it here on this podcast. I think she is the America East Player of the Year. Maine trailed by 11 in the first half before Smith completely took over. She had 29 points and 11 rebounds for her third straight double-double. 19 of those points came in the first half to keep Maine within striking distance and eventually win 64-56. And it wasn't just a big night, it was a historic one for Smith, who moved in front of Ziggy Koitzer, one of my favorite Maine basketball players of all time, into 9th all-time on Maine's scoring list. She sits at 1,679 career points. She's also scored in double figures in 18 straight games. That's right, 18 straight games Adrianna Smith for the Black Bears has scored in. She's adding a pair of blocks for good measure here in this game, too, showing she gets it done on the defensive side. But this Maine team's confident. They're playing with an edge, and they're starting to roll right into form. They're going to have a chance to avenge one of their final third loss that they faced earlier this year against Binghamton on the final day of the season's senior game. But Sarah Talon's also had some big contributions. Lizzie Gruber started to find her groove. Asta Blauenfeld has been amazing as well, scoring double figures in multiple games. And then Lala Woods, who missed the first 11 games this season, has really come around for the Black Bears. So it's been fun to watch. And on the women's side, they're really taking over. 3-game win streak, and we'll see what they can do against UMBC next time out. That one is going to be played in Baltimore, Maryland, this coming Thursday. They're actually on the road Thursday and Saturday. They're at NJIT on Saturday. So, excuse me, a little bit of a road swing for this Black Bears women's basketball team before they return home against UNH, UAlbany, and Binghamton to end their America East play. The America East quarterfinals will start March 5th, Thursday. If Maine makes the final, the America East championship is March 13th. Taking place as well. So exciting stuff. Maine catching fire at the right time. Let's take a look over at the Division II updates here and some conversations. We'll get to the women's side a little bit more next week for this, because there's plenty of women from Maine doing great things on the Division II level. But on the men's side, we had an unbelievable battle of the 207's best when Will Davies and Cash McClure met on last Wednesday night. Maine on Maine matchup in D2. Cash McClure, playing for Bentley, took on Will Davies of St. Anselm, and Bentley came out on top 85-79, and McClure led the way. He finished with 21 points on 7 of 17 shooting, making timely plays in the game that demanded him to make those plays, by the way. We sent Brady King down there. He has some great video footage. Go check out our YouTube page, Instagram page. You can see those highlights where Cash dropped that 21 on 7 of 17, taking over. St. Anselm's, though, didn't go quietly. They actually had a great pushback with Will Davies, who is right in the center of it all. He's one of the best playmakers in Division II, one of the top assist getters in the entire country in D2. He posted a double-double, 12 points, no shock, 11 assists, continuing to show why he's such a steady engine for this Hawks team that sits first place in any 10 play. Bentley did lead at half 43-33. They pushed it to 50-33 early in the second half. So a big win over a first-place team in the NE10. Bentley sits third, and it was great to see Maine develop talent just doing amazing things last Wednesday. And again, go check out those highlights. Brady King was on the scene. He got some good shots, and the highlights are up at the YouTube page. Fun stuff there. Let's go check out some Maine teams, though, now, and let's talk about some Maine teams who are climbing the ranks in the CNE and in the GNAC. We'll start on the women's side in the CNE with the UNE Nor'easters. The Nor'easters right now are one of the quiet stories of the season. Their 6-game winning streak, now 10-2 in the conference and sitting second in the CNE. They're overall 12-9, but that is a little bit deceiving. It doesn't tell the full story. UNE was 6-9 after out-of-conference play. Again, non-conference play, I should say. And it was a pretty tough schedule. They proved, though, that was worth the lumps that they took early in the season, because from 6-9, it's clearly paid off. Again, sitting at 10-2 in conference play and 12-9 overall. So just a really kind of a flip of the script of their season. Last time out, they flipped the switch, outscoring Hartford 26-4 in the fourth quarter to pull off a 60-50 comeback win. Sydney Jeshin led the way with 21 points. Jenish, led the way with 21 points, including 12 in a dominant fourth quarter performance, shooting 8 for 14 from the floor, 3 of 5 from deep. Up next for them is Endicott in CNE play. We'll see if the Nor'easters can continue it, but the women are one to watch. Johnson & Wales University, which is led by Grace Joffrey of Ellsworth, is ahead of them in CNE competition. They are number 1 in the CNE, so we'll see if they can catch them, but if not, right now the Nor'easters women's basketball team is pushing towards the top. Again, 10-2 in conference play and on a 6-game winning streak. On the men's side, building a little momentum, 7-5 in conference, 11-10 overall, winners of back-to-back games. Their latest came at Hartford. Adam Lux, a Mainer, poured in a season-high 27 points on a 94-87 road win. Lux was efficient and steady as he helped with a 8 of 14 from the floor, 3 of 5 from 9 of 20 from the field, and a perfect 7 of 7 from the free throw line. You'll have to excuse me. I'm a little out in space here today. He wasn't alone, though. Adrian Torres had a big game. Gabe Galarraga as well had a nice game with 10 points, rounded out 4 double-figure scores for this UNE team. So the men's side still has a little bit of work to do. They have a huge opportunity, though, ahead. They return home to face conference unbeaten Endicott, currently number 14 in the D3 Hoops Top 25 poll. If UNE wants to prove that they have a chance in the CNE, here it is this Wednesday against the Endicott Gulls. So we'll see if the UNE men can really get going. But right now, just back-to-back wins, kind of staying afloat. I think, though, to be fair, it is the women to watch in the CNE. They have a real shot potentially at the CNE championship. The men, they have some proving to do, and they could maybe do that on Wednesday. So we'll revisit that a little bit next week. But watch out for the women's side as they are rolling in CNE play. Let's go to the GNAC, though, the Great North Atlantic Conference, as the St. Joseph's Monks are rolling. They smashed Dean 93-78 over the weekend to extend their winning streak to 10 games, and they are 13-8 overall with a perfect 8-0 conference record. Still sitting second, though, behind University of St. Joseph's because they have 9 games played, so their winning percentage is better. But this weekend, really, I mean, you saw the dominance from this Monks team over the weekend. 53% shooting from the field, plus 14 on the glass, 42-28. They out-rebounded Dean. 18-7 advantage in second chance opportunities. 40-26 advantage in points in the paint as well. So the Monks are healthy. They're in control of their own destiny and rolling. Tyler Ockley and company probably very excited about the possibilities here in the GNAC. 3 Monks went off this past weekend against Dean that we have to mention. Remy Jowani, 29 points, 8 boards. John Paul Frazier, 25 points, 5 rebounds. And Wani Donato, who got GNAC Player of the Week, he had 21 points on 8 of 9 shooting. Balance, efficiency, and confidence. The Monks, again, are finding their nirvana, and the yin and yang is balancing out as the Monks, again, just dominating in the GNAC. On the women's side now, though, let's not forget about them. 6-2 in conference, 4-game winning streak, a 105-53 demolition of Dean. So the women tasting a little bit of what the men's success is. Senior guard Logan Bryant had a night for the record books. 10 made threes on a career-high 34 points, setting a program record. She's from Brunswick, Maine, so pretty impressive to see there. Maddie Russell also added 15 points on 6 of 8 shooting as the Monks continue to trend up in GNAC play. The men, though, unlike what we talked about with UNE, I think the men are really on watch to win their conference. The women can have something to say about it, just like the UNE men can have something to say about it, but the women on UNE and the CNE and the men in the GNAC for St. Joe's College Monks those are the two teams I'm watching. I think there's some serious potential to be in the D3 tournament because they can punch their ticket winning either the GNAC or the CNE. So again, Nor'easters women, Monks men, we got our eyes on you here on the Big Time Hoop Starting 5 podcast. Let's go to the YSCC, though, where I'm also keeping an eye on things there. I actually am a former UMA Moose, so I love this conference, place in my heart. But SMCC is the team I have to talk about right now. They are on fire in YSCC play. They might be the hottest team in the state right now as well, riding a 12-game winning streak after a 74-71 win over Fort Kent. God, I can hear the Bowdoin women's fan. Bowdoin women's, I know you guys are probably the hottest team in the state. I know your record's crazy, but just let SMCC have this one. Let them have this one. SMCC have been amazing. And I think one of the big reasons for this is Chance Mercier, who's become clearly one of the best players in the YSCC and one of the best players in the state of Maine, D3, or here in this USCAA league. Since the calendar flipped to January, Mercier has found his groove. I dove deep into the stats on the SMCC website. He's averaging 21 points per game, shooting 50% from the field and 43% from three over the last 9 games and only in the month of January. And after a slower start in November, he's become a full-time starter and the offensive engine for the Seawolves team. 13 points he averaged in 7 games in November. He's up to 20. His average for the year is 18, but Chance Mercier is finding his rhythm and finding his role and becoming a huge reason the SMCC Seawolves may be on course to snag a YSCC conference championship away from a CMCC or a UMA here in the YSCC. It is a surge that has SMCC sitting 4th in the YSCC. So despite the 12 wins, their slow start held them back. They're still only 4th. I don't know if they can go that much higher either. But either way, with a tournament in Auburn, it's not that far of a trip for them and their fans to go to cheer them on. So if they're as hot as they are, it should be interesting to see. And one way we'll find out, maybe a measuring stick of where the Seawolves are at, they get the CMCC Mustangs on Wednesday night. So a battle between the Mustangs and the Seawolves. It looks like it's at the Hub on Wednesday, so I might pop over. I live in Cape, so I might even skirt on over, see what's going on for the YSCC matchup. The Seawolves, though, hot. Worth noting, this win streak does date back to December 12th. That's the last time SMCC tasted a loss, and with the YSCC tournament just 10 days away, I think the Seawolves are peaking again at the perfect time. I'd watch out for them to maybe snag a YSCC tournament win. So again, shout out to Chance Mercier and everyone involved at the SMCC program for the men's side. They are rolling. We'll talk about the women more next week in that program as we get closer to playoff time. But on the men's side, watch out for Chance Mercier and SMCC. Again, Chance averaging 20 points a game in the month of January. Looking like in the month of February as well, he's going to pick up right where he left off. Let's talk about big-time performers, though, and wrap up the Big Time Hoop Starting 5 podcast presented by Town & Country Federal Credit Union. We've talked about the big-time game of the week, the big-time Town & Country game of the week. God, look at me. I'm all over the place. That was also included with that SMCC win over Fort Kent, where Chance looked so dominant in that performance. So big shout out to them. But let's get into some big time performers of the week. First, starting with Nate Hebert of Thomas College. I got to give a big shout out to him. He was the NAC Rookie of the Week this week. And you talk about instant offense. We saw him at Grey New Gloucester be a microwave of a basketball player. And in 17 minutes, he went full takeover mode for Thomas College this past week. 82-76 was their win over Leslie. Hebert came off the bench and poured in a career-high 23 points, shooting 8 for 11 from the floor in 17 minutes. A scorching 7 for 9 from 3. And when Leslie trimmed the lead to 5 midway through the second half, Hebert slammed the door, scoring 20 of his 23 points in the final 10 minutes. Patriot fans of Grey New Gloucester, stand up. I used to watch the Red Wave take over the Expo whenever they'd come to town, and the Hebert family would be on display. They are state champions. Nate was a big part of that run, and at Thomas College, it still looks like he's picking up right where he left off. An incredible performance from Nate Hebert. And again, that earned him the North Atlantic Conference Co-Rookie of the Week, honors that helped the Terriers secure another conference win. Thomas is back in action tonight, February 10th, on the road at Vermont State Linden, 5:30. So as I'm recording this, this is being recorded on Tuesday, by the way. Whenever you hear this, Tuesday, February 10th is when we are recording. Also, shout out to TJ Blackmon. What a performance from him. Like Nate Hebert, he's been a big kind of catalyst to why Thomas and the Terriers have been a little bit more of a hungry pack of dogs lately, winning some games. But TJ Blackmon was amazing. And this one, unfortunately for him, featured in a loss. But back on January 31st at UMF, he was incredible. Exploded for a season-high 40 points, flashing offensive upside, and made him one of the most dangerous scorers in the NAC on that day. He's from Mississippi. He's not a Maine guy, but I do want to shout him out. His stat line, 40 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 7 steals, and 2 blocks. Not just scoring, that's impact on both ends on January 31st against a very good Beavers team. So shout out to TJ Blackmon of Thomas College along with Nate Hebert. Big-time performances from the Terriers. Let's go to Husson University. My other big-time performer of the recent weeks is Eric Ahlers. Ahlers from the University of Husson is easily one of the most consistent heaters in the conference. This dude scores at a crazy clip. And in Husson's 92-74 road win over SUNY Delhi recently, he was all over the place. 26 points, 12 rebounds, recording his 12th double-double of the season, as I noted. Just unbelievable. And the bigger picture, I think, this is some of the deeper dive I went in here for him. Over his last 15 games, Ahlers has scored 20-plus points in 12 of them. Zoom in even more, and it gets louder. 5 20-point games in his last 6, including 2 30-point performances. So Eric Ahlers, the Husson University Eagles standout, a senior, dominating the NAC and dominating my sheet here all over the place. 31 versus the University of Maine at Farmington on January 23rd. A season high 35 versus Maine Maritime Academy on January 24th. Back-to-back games. He had 66 points total. Husson returns to action Friday night when they host Vermont State Linden at 5:30 inside Newman Gymnasium. And I'll tell you what, if you haven't seen Eric Ahlers, go check him out there in Bangor. He is an incredible, incredible scorer. Let's talk about the final two here on my big-time performers. Tough not to go to UMF next and shout out Dixfield's own, Deergo's finest, Charlie Houghton, who really just separated himself and supplied fireworks the last time he took the floor in a 116-84 win over Vermont State Linden. Houghton delivered a career-high 33 points, doing it efficiently and from everywhere. He shot 12 of 19 from the floor, including 7 of 11 from 3, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. Complete performance in a game where Farmington's offense really never let up again, scoring 116. But to see Charlie get back to it, he hit the game winner for Deergo in a state championship. We've always known he can get it done that way. Continues to get it done at the college level. And shout out to Logan Brown of St. Joseph's College. We talked a little bit about her in our GNAC conversation, but Logan put together a week to remember at St. Joseph's. The senior has been one of the better players and more consistent players this season, and in 2 conference wins this past week, she showed you why she's one that you can't forget about in the scouting report. She averaged 30.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, 2 steals per game in just 27 minutes a night. Brown was a hyper-efficient shooter, 64% from the field on 20 of 31 over her last 31 shots, an incredible 63%, 17 of 27 from 3. And on the season, she's averaging just 13 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist through 21 starts and shooting 35%. So she went on a heater this past weekend, and as we talked about, it's revived a little bit of St. Joe's season to get them climbing the ladder in the GNAC standings and maybe into the conversation of a potential GNAC championship appearance. So St. Joe's back in action Wednesday night at Revere. Look for Logan Brown to continue that hot streak. We talked a little bit about it. We'll get into my power rankings right now as we wrap up the Starting 5 podcast presented by Town & Country Federal Credit Union. Taylor Bannister, shout out to Brady King, everybody else involved in this. It's not just me. who gets this stuff done. But quick power rankings. I said it. Bowdoin, we'll start with the women's side. Number 8, Bowdoin Polar Bears, number 1. Number 12th in the country, ranked Bates Bobcats, number 2. Number 25 in the country, USM at number 3. Now not ranked anymore. That sucks, but it is what it is. Number 4, Colby Mules. Number 5, University of New England Nor'easters. Welcome to the top 5, by the way, UNE. Come on in. Come on in. You guys are welcome. But honorable mention to St. Joe's, as we talked a lot about them. I don't think there's much change here. Bowdoin is 20-1, 8-0 in NESCAC play, one of the best records in the entire country. They extended their win streak to 12 with a 64-51 road win at, Williams last time out, so I couldn't move them. Bates continues to roll. USM as well are rolling, and after they suffered a bit of a hiccup against Rhode Island College, they bounced back in a big way with J.C. Christopher, Lucy Wiles, and Dakota Shipley combining for 64 points for the Huskies, so the Pack got back to action. Colby Mules and look, Colby's starting to struggle in that NESCAC play, but the thing is, NESCAC play is such a buzzsaw, it's tough to really hurt any of those NESCAC teams or punish them for losing, but Colby's starting to slip. 3-5 on the women's side, 13-9 overall, and we'll see how they do. They got some big matchups with Trinity and Wesleyan coming up. Meanwhile, as we mentioned, UNE climbing that ladder. We'll see maybe if they can assert themselves and continue to be one of the teams to watch here in Maine for a maybe conference championship. On the men's side, St. Joe's, you did it, man. I knew you guys would get there. They're finally healthy. They're finally playing their best basketball. Had to put them at number 1. Bates Bobcats, again, hitting that NESCAC buzzsaw. 2 losses. It was tough to keep them at number 1, especially with a 10-game win streak by the Monks. And the Monks have the head-to-head. And I know Barba Kapui was not playing in that game, but that's still like the head-to-head now has to mean something when they're on a 10-game win streak and healthy. So I like St. Joe's at the 1 spot, 8-0 in GNAC play. Bates 4-4 in NESCAC play, 16-6 now after the 2-loss weekend against some really, really stiff competition in Trinity and Wesleyan. Nationally ranked, by the way, in the D3 top 25 poll, but they're number 2. No real hurt there. So, I mean, those are the 2 best teams, in my opinion, in the state of Maine in D3 basketball right now. It's just whichever one you want to put 1 or 2, that's objective, but I'm putting St. Joe's there. And they do have the more recent head-to-head. The 3 and 4 spot are pretty interchangeable for me on the men's side. Colby or Bowdoin here. 16-6 Colby, 4-4 overall in NESCAC. They're struggling. They have a huge test coming up against Trinity and Wesleyan this week. We'll see if Max Polton and Dan Civillo can really will this Colby team into a maybe more dangerous position in the NESCAC standings with some big wins against some nationally ranked teams. Bowdoin as well. Ray Cuevas, huge clutch shots to keep them in this thing, but they also have to go to Connecticut for a defining weekend like the Mules do. So next week we'll have a lot more to talk about with those 2 teams, but big-time weekends, deciding weekends for the NESCAC in terms of Bowdoin and for Colby this weekend. So watch for them. I mean, critical games for them. Again, can't emphasize it enough. And shout out UMF. They are in still over USM. They're 16-1 in NAC play, 19-5 overall. And I saw someone comment on our Facebook page saying, well, didn't UMF lose head-to-head to USM? Yes, they did. I've heard that a million times. But a power ranking is about the now. And I don't know why I have to explain this to people, but I do. But the power rankings are about the now, and USM struggle on the road. I get the LEC is a tougher conference than the NAC. I'm not naive. I'm a basketball guy. I recognize that. But that doesn't mean I can continue to reward a team for losing. I reward teams for winning. And right now the Beavers at 19-5, 16-1 are a team that I like in the top 5. USM, again, it's no knock on those boys and that team. I am a huge supporter of everything that Coach Coppersmith is doing at USM, and they have a real shot in the LAC to make some noise, especially with their home record. They can't be beat at Hill Gym, but that's the only thing. They're such a different team away from home. I had to leave them out of the top 5 in the power rankings this week. But USM, you're on my radar. I still love you guys, even though you hate me for not putting you in the top 5. That's going to do it here for the Starting 5 podcast presented by Town & Country Federal Credit Union. Shout out to Brady King again and everybody else behind the scenes. I'm Taylor Mannix. Until next week when we bring you more of the college catch-up. Stay tuned on our Instagram page. Follow us. Head to the YouTube page. We have so much more content going out other than just this, so please follow us. Keep up. We're going to bring you all of the college conversations, all of the college topics, all of the college scores, headlines, and highlights over the next few weeks as we heat up with playoffs just around the corner. This is just the beginning on the Starting Five podcast. It is the takeoff point this year. We look forward to serving you your college meals and everything else in between over the next 2 weeks and into next year as we've changed direction on this podcast for, I think, the better, man. The college stuff is fun. Brady and I are into it. We got so much ready to cook for you guys, so stay tuned here on the Starting Five podcast presented by Town & Country Federal Credit Union.